I hadn't even thought about until this evening. I hadn't even thought about. Oh, I could have put that on YouTube. I literally thought about it this evening. I went, yeah, don't know
Yeah,
how to do that.
YouTube Shorts is a thing.
I
Um,
know. I watched them. You
uh,
think by what I watched them would mean I was thought of, I should do those.
what's the point? Let's stop the phone from pinging and dinging and no, go away. Ooh, all of that does remind me. I will probably at some point expand the virtues of that. I pulled down slightly too far on my phone. It brought up the audiobook I've been listening to,
Okay.
which is Iron Widow by Jiren J. Zhao,
Well,
which
we could do
is,
that later.
yeah,
We could actually do that. We could do yeah,
a little,
AOB kind of thing.
yeah. Okay,
I'm always to do audiobooks.
so, what are we going to, words.
Good work. Well done.
Yes, you must think I've been doing this for years. So we want to go through the box set, which is the Trolls and Chimera. I know remarkably little about it, so I'll probably just end up asking you questions and you can answer them.
Works for me.
Yeah. We probably want to talk about. I will bring up the articles on Buck Hasker and.
Yep.
Um,
So that I have not looked at. There are some available bits and pieces for that, but I haven't looked. So I don't know anything that's not public on trenches yet. New trenches.
yeah, I just for those I just want to discuss what's on the pages,
Yeah,
which is
I do the same.
I need to sign up for Major Thunder as well because I quite like that one. Having a
Yeah, I
Zeus,
do too. I need to do that too.
having a Zeus
I
version
missed
of
them what I liked.
him would be good. Oh god, right? Can we just talk about Steamforge website?
It's nice. Yeah.
It's very
Assuming
shiny, yes, and if you want to go to the shop, it's brilliant. However,
it's all about the shop.
if you want to find any of the news,
Yeah, it's not. It's very good about the shop.
so I've got the big banner of Rise tarnished for Dark Souls. Great, fantastic. Selling the product. That's all good. You know,
Yeah, I can see that.
you got your separate sections, then your top 10 tabletop games, then your sections by thing. I'm still not at the news. Past the Discord. Okay, still not at the news. Then I'm at some social media and online support stuff. Great. Then I've hit the news,
Today's news.
just above Steamforged. And
Oh
I
yeah,
only see 4 news stories.
the sixth. Oh no, four. Yeah, but the right hand bottom one is the one you're after.
Now, if I hit so if I hit the tag, at least it's tagged. Okay, so if I hit Gravediggers, I do get what's his name? Plugger
Hasker and yeah, Plugger. Yeah,
and Hasker, which gotta say that the models look as they should.
they
It's
do.
they're doing some nice stuff this version, and
Very.
okay, there has been a very pronounced. For me, it's noticeable. I don't know if it's noticeable for you. For me, it's very noticeable. There's been a change in Studio Painter or whoever's doing the models for photo shoots or how they're being shot.
I think there's a number of artists because one of them I know, but others I don't. Yeah, I agree. It's much nicer. They did say when they took over that they wanted more color photos, not photos of resin and just 3D renders.
Yes, that's a start point. But as well as that, everything
It's
feels
really good.
less sterile
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
because
even though Shadow and Scumbox is kind of like red on the left and merging and blurring into green on the right. It's very the colors depth is really lovely.
even that right. I'm looking at Plugger
Yeah,
and Plugger on the old one. The blades would have been very shiny. The blue would have been very uniform throughout. It would have looked like this is a Signar model.
yeah.
The way they've done it, the blades they're grungy. I think
And they look like I painted it. It looks like I painted it.
there's
They chucked, yeah,
there's definitely some cast in scratches on there, which you can tell. But they've really made a thing of them, and the scratches on the hull, the blue paint's worn off in places. Like it looks more. It's still big fantasy, but it looks a bit grungier.
it
And
does.
I'm kind of liking it. Also, very different basing style. Like
Yeah,
very short. It's interesting as someone who's been told concentrate on bases and faces. They're toning down the base to bring the attention back to the model.
yeah,
It's interesting.
I'd agree with that. It is lovely,
Marketing stuff.
very much so.
Okay, so we want to talk about the box set, the two new Signar models. Is there anything else?
Two is like the whole box.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, the Buck Hasker plugger,
yeah,
the
and friends. Yeah,
Rowdies.
Ramjaw.
Oh, in fact, Rowdies and Ramjaw, they've got there's the rules for them, I think.
Yes, doing the app. Yeah, they are. We went live last Wednesday.
Allow me to update my bit of my app, and we can actually look at them. Although that might be a bit long-winded. Don't know. We'll see how we're going. We'll see how we feel. We'll just vibe with the moment, baby. If the War Machine app will load. You have 49.7 megabit updates. Do you wish to run it? Yes. Oh man, the tilt some people had when they found out that there was a little advert thing in the app.
Oh, lots. Yes.
I was there going, it's a button. It takes you to a new release page. Like,
Takes you to the shop. What
yeah.
do you?
What it's doing is saying, "Oh, you've seen the cards. Would you like to buy the models?"
Yes.
Like, how is this an inconvenience to you? Is this?
Oh, it slows it down. It makes it really slow.
Does it come and kick you in the shins personally? I mean, I even said some stuff to Rich on the Facebook. I said, look, the Facebook, I have become 75.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even said to him, it's like, oh, if you could have a carousel of stuff there, you could highlight new model releases one week, have another one that's like your new fiction that's appeared this week as well. Maybe, add some rounded corners, make it look a bit more like the other buttons so it fits in with the UX a little bit better. Like typical website testery stuff.
Yeah.
And he went, oh yeah, that's the plan. That's exactly what we want to do. I'm like, cool, sounds great.
You know what? Everything I've raised with Jamie, it's been like, yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's almost like War Machine's being
about all
run by,
kinds of things.
War Machine's being run by sane and reasonable people. Well,
Yeah.
sane-ish and reasonable-ish people, anyway.
Yeah. Saying
So-
enough. Saying enough that we don't care.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then after we do any of that, we can just do painting table and AOB and
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
be good with stuff. So yeah. Should we crack on?
Yes, definitely do so. Let's do it.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Elite Cadre, the War Machine podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously. I haven't been interrupted and I'm scared of what's going to happen from now on. I'm Mike.
I'm Kurt, and I thought for once I wouldn't interrupt you in lieu of Alex because Alex hasn't been on in ages, and I thought, why interrupt you every time? Why not leave it and then scare you? And
Yeah.
it worked.
I'm not used to being able to get the entire spiel out and uninterrupted, and quite frankly, I'm lost now.
Excellent.
In the wilderness.
You're welcome.
Yes, quite. So we're back after a Christmas break because we are unreasonable adults and are tired and busy and all sorts of other things. But hopefully we are coming back with something that will be of interest to, well, most people. With the announcement of the new, I would say Horde starter box, but it's not Horde anymore. It's just all War Machine.
A Fury-driven starter box.
Yes.
Yes.
Does the I know the starter box has a name.
It's Shadows and Scum.
Shadows and Scum. Interesting.
I think that's right.
Yeah. So this is the
I can doubt myself now, but yeah.
So this is the new Hips Plastic 2-faction starter box for both the Trolls and Chimera. Now,
Yes, Brian Bloods and I see now. I'm forgetting what they're called. Yeah, I was all over it, and then I wasn't. I was thinking they had a name: Shard Nocturnes and Foul Bloods Armada. See, I have it on screen.
very nice. Now you've got your hands on a copy of this.
I do. Steamforce Games were um, really lovely and sent us a an advanced copy for review. And yes, I've had it for about 3 days, and it's absolutely amazing.
We should point out that this is not an advert, although we received the product for free.
Oh,
Steamforged have not asked for any editorial control of this, and have purely provided it as a, I want to say review copy, but this is mostly going to be just us talking through what's there, and yeah.
yes, we haven't got them on the table yet. In fact, there are no official rules for release yet, although I'm sure that will come soon. I think the official release date is the end of March for the box, but yes, there are no official rules released yet. There are barcodes on the back of the box, but they don't yet lead anywhere because it's not been put live yet, and the rules haven't been released yet. I'm sure the rules will be out on the app
Yeah.
soon. They tend to come out pre-release these days.
So, from what happened with the first box on those QR codes, once they went live, there were some very comprehensive build guides. Although I think at least two of those had to be minorly changed because there were, I think, two parts missing off them.
Oh,
But
I forgot that.
with it being a QR code, they could update them. So, for instance, I think both Deuce and Vilkel had some minor order of parts issues. Vilkel was missing a piece
Ah,
that just stayed on the sprue until you realised, oh, there's a weird place where there should be like a crotch guard and there isn't. So, and I think one of the guy with the long gun for the Black 13th also there was a piece ordering issue. They didn't quite. You had to kind of remove one piece to put another one on. But
so the pieces are all present. They're just the instructions seem to not give you clear
yes,
enough instructions. Okay,
exactly. And it being digital, they could be replaced.
of course.
They also came with, I believe, a scenario as one of the PDFs, which is like which used the scenery that came in the box, which was
So the
nice.
first biggest difference between that set and this set is there are no scenery pieces. There's no little walls or anything else with this box. It's just the models.
Interesting, interesting. Um,
It's a lot of models though,
yes,
and a lot of from a physicality perspective. There aren't any more from a count perspective. There are two forces of Warlock, Heavy War Beast, two solos, and all of them characters and a unit, 3-man unit for each force.
well, if I mean, I'm on the Steamforged Games page right now, so I'll just run through the names of what's there, and a brief description of the forces, which they've written out. So, what's in the box? We have Valix, Fate's Eclipse, which is the Chimera Warlock, Aklis, which is the character Warbeast, Pythia, which is a Chimera character solo, Regulus, which is another Chimera character solo. Interesting, they've got two there. The Shades, which are a 3-model character unit. Then we move on to the Trolls, which is Commodore Foulblood, who's the Southern Creole Warlock, Chum, who's the character Warbeast, Mr. Boggs and Sully, who are both solos, and the Lockerbash Brothers, which is a 3-model character unit.
Yep, absolutely.
So for the Chimera, we have a brief description, which is under cover of darkness, the Shard Nocturne glide in silence, led by cunning Valix. Abhorrent Aklis masks their approach with clouds of acrid haze, while Regulus slips by unseen within the chaos. Aided by Pythia's arcane acuity, this pack of master assassins track, locate, and dispatch prey with their inescapable blades.
I think it's with the physical models in front of me. It's worth at this point pointing out this is the battle group of the Tactical Rock. Three of the models are on Tactical Rocks.
Oh, excellent.
So if you don't know what that is a model, a rock that comes with it in it to enable the model to stand properly on the base.
Yeah.
So especially the Captain War Beast, Atlas has no legs. It is a flying sort of serpentine, flying heavy war beast. So it is snaked around a rock. It's awesome.
Oh, it's a flying warbeast that doesn't have a flight stand. Oh, so good.
Yes, it just has what unless you count the rock, obviously, which so it has done before as a
Oh,
concept. But yes,
I,
it's
I
no
think
flight stand. In fact, the whole well to qualify what you just said, the entire box side, the entire sort of starter, they're all flying. All of them have wings, and all of them appear to be mobile in the air.
yeah, I probably should just clarify flight stand for those people who are not in deep in the lore of wargaming of the last 30 years. When I say flight stands, I mean the clear plastic stalks that are supplied with some flying models that snap when looked at, and have
I
generally.
was see, I was going to say snap when you put back in the box for the second time at the absolute most. But yeah, so
Oh,
looked at is also qualified as well. Yeah, it's just vaguely anything would break it.
I think the absolute worst ones I saw were the ones that had the little ball joint at the top. So you've got
Oh yeah.
a little basket, then a ball that fitted in it that then slotted into the model. Those had so many points of weakness, it was just unfair. But
And,
thankfully,
and it's not even like we can blame one big company. That so many companies have made these things. There's just it's not one thing.
and
It's they've been everywhere.
I think a lot of them are using the same molds as well.
It
That,
feels that way. Yeah.
just saying. Um, but no. So looking at a picture of this, yes, there's a lot of tactical rock in there. Um, that's something that, looking back at the War Machine box, I think could have been done with in one or two places. There's one or two models in that first Cadre versus Signar box where the placement of the feet means that they are on the rim. At least one foot is on the rim of the base, which
Yes.
I'm not a massive fan of. I would rather have the tactical rocks or things, something's tilted or in a very interesting position or whatever. Um,
And that's
so
very much what they've done. And the Warcaster is actually it's kind of hard. I found it from the box photo. It remarkably challenging to work out which one is the Warlock, and the Warlock is the one at the bottom of the photograph of the picture. It is the guy at the bottom. I think
oh,
weirdly from a scale perspective, he is on a medium base. The guy at the bottom is the Warcaster on a medium base. He is much bigger than the guy stood next to him. Something to do with the way they've superimposed the photos or brought the pictures together. He is much bigger than those other guys to his left on the picture.
composition will do an awful lot for some of these photos.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think everything there is very identifiable as being Chimera. There's a lot of very nice, sharp. I will say sharp wings. Is that something that carries through in the actual hips plastic itself?
yes, very much so. Yes, it's uh the solo, the sort of sorceress solo, which is kind of top left, top right rather of the image.
Yeah.
Um, that was a challenging model. I have bear in mind at this point no instructions, so I am an experienced modeler of many many years, not saying how many. And it was a challenge to put together without instructions. It's and to make it stand up without the instructions. I did work it out. I did rearrange. I did realize I had two bits in the wrong way around. And luckily, with poly cement, I was able to add some more and attach and reattach. But it made me think of the NIS briefly because the sharp, pointy bits are trying to hang on to
Yeah.
it. It's not metal. It didn't draw blood. It's not like Mark One mercenary unit that would literally you would bleed trying to put it together. Um, but yeah, it was challenging, and it definitely has sharp edges.
I will say you raised something there that the kind of the either the less experienced modeler or someone who's not worked with a hips ABS style plastic before might not know if they're using poly cement, which is that yes, if you've glued something and it is mostly to the point where you can't move it, you can add a little bit more poly cement and maybe break that weld. Um, it saved
Yes, if it
me.
hasn't fully set and you haven't left it for a day or so,
Yes.
then you can kind of. I see. You're very generous there. I would say flood this joint with poly cement and it'll come back apart again. But obviously, you're being more careful, and that's your advice is probably more sound than mine.
But it depends on the joint, very much depends on how you're applying. This is one of the reasons why, and again, not an ad, I would recommend Tamiya extra thin poly cement because that,
So if you hadn't said that, I was going to follow up with that.
yeah, the, have it. So a lot of poly cement, particularly the like the most popular, the blue and yellow bottle. Trying to think who that is.
I could picture it, but I can't think what it's called.
Yeah,
Like going to Amazon or something.
there's a blue and yellow bottle with a needle applicator. I
Yeah.
can't stand it. That seems to clog all the wall for me. The difference with Tamiya is it comes in a glass bottle and you have a brush applicator. You can get into places that you physically can't with the needle. And so,
My only slight complaint with the Terex thing is that the top of the start, I suppose it's true of every glue and anything, isn't it? The start of that little glass bottle is a dream. It's lovely. It's wonderful. By the time you get at the bottom, it's hard to get enough in the brush. You end up shaking it to try and get enough to get on the brush and the stem of the brush to get enough out of it. However, it still is amazing stuff.
one thing I would say, once you're near the bottom of the bottle, what you have to do, and this sounds weird, but the physics checks out. Normally, you just kind of like, to dip the brush back in, and the whole brush goes in and it soaks up. So what you can do is when it's at the bottom, just screw the top back on and unscrew it. And what that does is it gives enough time for the brush to use capillary action to draw the liquid up into it, even if it's
Possibly
only just
that.
touching on the surface.
Possibly a bit of air pressure, perhaps as well. Yeah, I hadn't. Yeah, I found that I did put it on, give it a shake vertically, put it back down again, and I get it far too much.
Yeah. But either way, freeing up a joint with that stuff, perfect,
Yeah.
great, super smashing. One of the reasons I love working with poly cement, you get that little bit more working time. It can lead to a bit of fiddle when you're trying to hold something delicate in place and trying to glue too quickly, and the whole thing just comes apart in your hands sometimes. But I find it's a much nicer thing to work with than super glue, where you're just gluing your fingertips together half the time. But that's a side point.
Absolutely. Yeah, the sticky sort of. If you overdo it with the Tamiya and you get a mixture of the plastic and a film of the plastic and some Tamiya on your fingers, it will create a kind of a glue, but it doesn't stick your fingers to the model like
Yeah.
typically does.
So, going back to the models themselves, when you're constructing it, are you finding it's largely the same sort of like follow the numbers from 1 to whatever for Model 1 and then 71 to 86 for Model 2? Or
Better than that, they're all lettered. Every single model in the box is lettered with a number. So,
okay,
even so better. So I started with the trolls
yep,
because they're generally my boys. I do own both armies, and I played considerable amount of Chimera, but I played trolls a lot to Watch
yeah.
Masters last year.
This was an ideal kit for you, wasn't it?
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It was the yeah. So while I have dabbled in Signar, I've never played Cadre. The first box, I was a bit like, that's very nice, it's lovely for other people. However, this is I've definitely leaned a little bit more into hordes over Fury management over the years. I played a lot of men, I've played a lot of other factions, but yeah, it was.
See,
So I started with the trolls.
I do remember your story of getting into hordes for the first time, where you went out and I think you bought the Legion first of all. Went
So
back,
I bought the Legion starter box.
read the book,
Legion
and
starter
then went,
box.
oh,
Yeah.
I need the trolls.
So more than that, I got married, and I took the original Prime rulebook on holiday to read because there's tons of fiction. There was tons of fiction in those books on holiday to read to this little cottage in the middle of nowhere in Wales for our honeymoon, and then proceeded to read the book, get obsessed with Madrak, and drag my new bride across Wales to try and find a small shop in Swansea to go and buy trolls.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I'm divorced now. Let's just add that.
Possibly. Like, let's quickly move on from that one before.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I started with the trolls. So I did pick out the letters that were there, but I think I didn't notice it until I came back to the Chimera second. They are in a very clear order. They are lettered. I can't see now. I'm trying to remember which one was in which order, but the unit was together in sequential order. The Warcaster and the Warcaster. I think it went Warcaster, then the Warbeast, then the solos, and then the Warbeast were like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that was the Chimera. And then the following letters were the trolls in the box as well. And they were completely separate. There wasn't an overlap. In fact, most models were contained on a single sprue, which is lovely. There was 2 exceptions. The Warbeast for the trolls had one of its headpieces and one other piece, I think, on one of the sprues, and one of the models in the Chimera had some pieces that were on a different sprue, but for the most part, you start a sprue, you cut all the pieces out with that letter on that sprue, and you follow the instructions. I mean, you can. I think if you set with instructions and you're new to modeling and new to wargaming, clip out the pieces that advises in order, clean them up, attach them in the order that says. There definitely is a right order, and I was very careful. I usually rush into everything. You know me for too long, Mike. I rush into things and don't think about consequence. So but this time I did cut every piece out, looked at it, dry fitted absolutely everything, cleaned everything up, and looked at how things went together. And still had to struggle with one model out of I don't know how many models I'm looking at, 10 more, um, 12 models. Um, there was there was a way of getting them together. Some of the, especially the Chimera unit, you have to attach the wings before you put the arms in because the socket for the arms doesn't exist until you put the wings in, and it creates the socket with the hollow on one side and hollow on the other. It's very
Ah,
clever. The
very nice.
engineering. I have briefly chatted with Russ and would like to get Ross Charles on to talk to us about the engineering behind this because he was heavily involved, especially with the trolls, and the engineering behind the way they've cut their digital sculpts and turned them into hips. I think would be very interesting to get him on to talk about. But it's so it's a future show. I think we
Oh,
can we can
I will absolutely sit and chat with Russ for hours.
absolutely
The last time we
definitely.
had
I
him
think we
on,
should.
I felt like we didn't have enough time. Could have gone a lot longer.
I
But
think we definitely should. I have reached out to him briefly. I need to do it officially, so I should do that officially. Um, I think that would be fascinating. But it's very very nice the way this is going. So the way the trolls go together. There's so much thought gone into it. There's so much thought gone into like the lines between the model pieces just almost entirely, almost without exception, vanish. Just the way that the seam goes, the natural seam of the model covers the line, the mold line, or the join line between the two pieces. Slightly less with the Chimera, but the trolls, just the arm sockets, sit into sleeves. It's amazing. I'm very very impressed.
I
It's
will
very
say
interesting, silly things. Sure, go on.
I'm just going through the individual models now, um, and certainly what I believe to be Commodore Foulblood. Um, like that is a model that is absolutely full of character because you've got this kind of you've got like a nice curved sword, but then it's got this. It looks like a sort of mermaid handle on it as well.
I hadn't even noticed that. It has, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's a little Easter egg on the studio paint in that there's a bottle of wine or beer or something that's strapped to his belt that's
Yeah.
got a little Menite symbol
Oh,
on.
it's got a Netflix on it. Oh
Yeah,
my God. Good spot. I had not seen that.
yeah. And there's
That's on the model, by the way. I'm looking at the sculpted model.
oh
That's on the model.
the Menifix is on the model.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Oh, nice, very nice.
I didn't expect that.
But yeah, then he's kind of spilling his beer. One where there's a monkey blowing fire over the bottle of wine, and then for some reason they've gone. You know what this model needs? A six pack. So he's
Yeah.
just got the most insane abs just going up the front as well. It's like that is a
I've just noticed something else.
oh go
Look
on.
at his hat. Look at his hat.
Oh, it's a Signaran captain's hat.
He's got a sword on his hat. So he's got the troll emblem hanging around his neck, which I didn't notice until you started looking pointing out details.
Yep.
He's got a Menifix on the bottle. He's got the Signar swan on his helmet, on his hat. He's got the Cadorian. So on the back, you can't turn around.
Yeah.
On the bottle on the back, he's got the Cadorian logo on the bottle on the back.
I'm guessing that will. Oh, what was the name for it? It was Vyatka. I think was the spirit that was meant to be Kador. And
You would know that much better than I.
I'm guessing the front one would be Menoth Uiske, which starts with a
That's familiar.
U and just yeah. Oh, okay.
Wow, I had not noticed that detail to you, and even looking at the model. And so I have assembled, primed, and based my models. Based the trolls. I'll base the Kimura afterwards. But yeah, having primed them and then dry brushed before putting any paint on in a slightly slightly slapshot method, all the details now jumping out that I had not noticed before. So, combination of the picture and the real model, there's so much going on. I mean, there was the other troll models, but that's awesome.
Well, I think that's really been the theme of Trolls for this edition. Has been the fact that, well, possibly even before, they all have a lot of character in those models. Partially because there's more room to sculpt them on because Trolls just inherently bigger, but they're more ragtag as well. You've always got a pig somewhere doing something. You've got bottles hanging
Yeah,
off over here. You've got just they are very interesting models to work with, and it's very noticeable that these have been painted up as I will say Napoleonic era, but quite clearly kind of red coat style.
so it's kind of Civil War, but kind of as in British kind of like yeah, it's British Navy, isn't it? At a certain point, but yeah, it's definitely has that feel, doesn't it? That kind of more they do seem like they are naval rather than pirate as such, which I find interesting.
Yeah, well, probably they'd probably fit under Marines in
Yes,
that case. But yeah, you do have the naval styled hats of I want to say 17, 1800s.
yeah, Age of Piracy kind of it's very much in that. It's sort of having just watched far too much Pirates of the Caribbean at the weekend for no good reason. Yeah, it fits very much in with that feel and that vibe.
Yeah.
I do want to. This guy just the foul blood just screamed Norrington far too much for me. Yeah, I know Norrington wasn't drunkard with a monkey on his shoulder, but it's got that sort of vibe of being kind of he's in with the pirates, but he's still wearing uniform and keeping it official.
It's it's an interesting set of stuff, and as well, then you've got at the end the Pelican,
Yes,
which is just madness. Like,
yes,
so for anyone who hasn't seen the set, there is presumably tame pelican that's just got a pig that's loaded it up with bombs.
yes. And
Um,
so Sully, I believe is his name. He seems to be so. There was a brief preview, accidental release of rules, and I have read. It's very silly. He's very cheap, and he drops bombs, almost no range whatsoever on people. I'm not sure if there's a tactical purpose or something I'm missing. Seems like a laugh. But he's a very cheap solo that just flies around, flying high, so harder to shoot, and just chucks bombs at people.
I mean, very cheap solo is already enough for a tactical purpose. Um, but
Yes, good
it's
for contesting and being annoying, very much so.
it's just the fact that he's standing in there with this literal gob full of bombs, and there's just a pig next to him with a flaming torch. It's like, this has disaster written all over it in so many ways.
Do you know what I like most about the unit, about the character unit,
Go on.
the Lockerbash brothers?
Yeah.
Is initially I can't help but was my mind was immediately drawn to the previous. There haven't been that many Trollblood character units, but the Sons of Bragg um, were a big deal from a rules perspective. But when the models came out, they were somewhat diminutive compared to the rest of the trolls.
Mm.
These three lads are huge. They're absolutely massive. They're really good, and they are. I wouldn't say they seem like they'd be bigger than the other pirates. They're not. You put them next to it, they're of a similar size. They might be slightly larger, but they are. They got their guns are a lot bigger. They're very very nice guns.
I was going to say they've got troll appropriate, like full two-hander rifles with
Yeah.
bayonets. Like,
Yes.
one of which, so the guy who's got no shirt on, basically, like
Yeah.
it almost stretches base to beyond the head, like the length of the rifle. That's it's that those are not small weapons by any means.
No, they're lovely models. They're so chunky, and the guns are huge. Yes, it's made for trolls. Not you kind of wonder. Usually, trolls have repurposed Signarian or weapons they've stolen from other people. You look at those and go, "Who's going to hold those otherwise?" Ogren? I don't know. It's a different
Yeah.
game.
Well,
It's
the whole point is, fluff wise, that there are enough trolls in the Signar military that they do have their own specialised set of weaponry. Although we don't see them on the tabletop because mixing silhouettes in the same unit is still something of a no-no, and I can kind of see the purpose behind that.
We've seen solos, haven't we? We've seen quite a few odd solos for Trollkin solos for
Yeah,
Signar, but we haven't really seen more than that.
they
Yeah.
largely get chucked in with the trenches, which, well, we'll discuss that
Yes, with the UA, wouldn't they? Yeah.
later. And as well as that, oh, you've just mentioned him. The words fail me.
We previously had a
No,
UA. Do you mean a specific character?
I mean a specific character. I'm actually going to look this up now. It's annoying me. Hold.
I can't think. Do you mean a Signarian
Oh no, it wasn't.
trencher UA?
It wasn't Bragg. It was a Boom Howler.
Yeah, Boomhowler was a yeah.
Boom Howler is actually in the Gravediggers as well.
Oh wow, cool. I forgot that.
Yeah. I forget that Boom Howler exists and that he's on his fifth version. Fourth version.
I want to say fourth, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we had that weird kind of one with a machine gun. Um, yeah, and he's got his new rules from January. Taking a brief aside, I've changed him quite dramatically in a quite interesting way, especially for trolls. So it's interesting. He's quite an interesting support solo now, more than just out aggression because he just died before. Now, interesting.
What was the change? Just kind of.
So the principal. I'm going to find the rules now before I start talking too much, but I'm not going to the wrong army, obviously. So the challenge is going to be remembering the old rules. However, what he has gained primarily. So he's gained Force Barrier himself. So he had Inhuman Resolve before, so he could survive, and he could, which meant if friendly models died with intention of him, he could remove a wound. So he'd heal as people died around him. But he's gained Shout It Out, which is range 6, friendly model unit. If the model unit is in range, it gains Force Barrier. So he's got a Force Barrier, and he can give Force Barrier to another unit within 6. Which in Trolls, where defense is not amazing, it's really, really cool.
Oh, that's going to lead to some horror shows in Signar. Because you can combine him with Storm Veins.
Oh, of course, because they're a Cadre, aren't they?
So you, so those and Boom Howler standing together, you can just sit there and go, right, this model's got +2 def against shooting. By the way, your shooting's also at -3 range, and I have resistance blast.
And Force Barrier doesn't get ignored by anything because it's not cover, it's not any kind of cloud or anything else. It is +2 defense. Suck it up. Yeah.
I wouldn't. They've also got D cells that they could put on as well. Oh, that's armor rather than defense.
Yes, but T-Cells is lovely against range.
And Blur seems to have completely gone from Signal, which sadness.
Yeah, so there's something I could say about Blur. Again, from the leaked rules at the time, and I think we've also seen some changes to the troll rules. Although other things that have come out seem to be the same, is that Foul Blood did seem to have Blur in that preview, but we again very much a leak. We don't know what's really going to come out for his rules. We'll find out in a few weeks. We just don't know.
Yeah,
but that'd be interesting.
When we do refer to the leak, there were very, very briefly a set of rules that appeared in the app quite accidentally for the next, should we say, 9 months worth of models. Some of which were said to be somewhat accurate, and some of which were said to be very early playtest rules. And I think that was kind of obvious when she started reading through and going, what is this? So
and some of it had names that ended TBA, as in they hadn't quite finished giving someone a name yet. So yeah, it was very early stuff, but it's interesting to see, an interesting frame of reference, because people did take screenshots and before, because the app was updated within the hour, so it was gone very quickly.
Yeah,
but people were quick to to grab things. But yeah, so that's all we know other from a rules perspective. But the models, I would say, are both halves. The trolls I've definitely been slightly more focusing on, but
I will
um,
say that Troll Warbeast does. It looks impressive and intimidating.
do you know what I want to do? I really want to get another one because the fin fits on just exactly the way that the other back fin pieces on the standard wall. There's an awful lot of the core of it that is just like the standard um, heavy wall beast patrols.
Yeah.
So the temptation would be to take the base and then magnetize, so you can put other weapons onto that base with different heads and things. But up onto that, I'm not doing it with this model. I built it up already, just as Chum. He's awesome. He's basically it's a heavy troll wall beast that is also a shark. He has a big fin on his back and he has massive, great open jaws. And he's throwing mines at people in one hand and squeezing an angry fish in the other hand. He's just awesome. And there's so much going on with the model, so much character, so much things hanging off him, like diver's helmet hanging off on one side, an anchor on a ship's wheel the other, all kinds of things just caught up in him.
Yeah, he does look like something that's kind of been dragged backwards through a shipwreck and collected everything that was there.
Yeah, it does.
Like crabs and barnacles and. Once again, this is a kind of almost a painter's dream because there's a lot of like different texture materials. You've got kind of nets and ropes and another fish going on there, and like there's a lot of
And a
interesting.
crab on the fin, and a fish hook through the fin, and yeah, the chains for the mines that wrap round around his arm, and even the anchor and ship's wheel that's got hanging off his neck. That piece from an assembly perspective is one piece. So if you got carried away and glued the head on first, you can't put that on. So
Ooh.
again, that was something I was dry fit and went, where does this go? Where does this go? How does this go over? How does it go over? Went, wait a minute, just take this off. Oh, look, it fits into that notch. And then the whole lot fits back onto the body. It was
Yeah,
amazing. It's so nice.
I will say generally from so I went out and did buy the Cadre and Signar box set myself. Any time that you have a problem with figuring out where to fit the next piece, it either means you've missed a piece or you're not putting it in the right way.
Yeah.
You,
Or
you,
it
you
won't stand up is the other part of that too. Yeah.
yeah, you've missed something along the way. It's a really good sign for kind of like something has gone wrong.
And dry fitting, putting things together before you can put the glue anywhere near the model, almost dry fit every single piece gradually into each other is very good advice. Just to make sure before you
Yeah,
put any kind of glue or poly cement near it, just to know where things are going to go.
yeah.
Is especially on a model that's that many complex and how many pieces. I lost count how many pieces he was.
One thing I was impressed by on the first one was the lack of visibility of the points at which you were snipping things out from the sprue. There wasn't a lot of like visible. I'm trying to think of the word.
We've tidied it up.
Yeah,
Where you've snipped out the pieces and
yeah,
you've just scalpel out the last little bit. Those bits are fairly visible. You mean that?
yeah.
That's sometimes true with these, not as true.
Hmm.
I think they've concentrated more on the joints because it being organic, it's harder to hide the joints. I think so. There's been more
Yes.
work on there. So the sometimes they are nice. So a lot of the sprue connection points on the Chimera were on the smooth tips, of the smooth broad pieces of the wings, which are easy pieces to tidy up and easy pieces to scrape smooth.
Yeah.
So while it's almost the opposite of what you said in some respects, they're not
Oh,
hidden,
okay.
but they're easy to hide, really easy to smooth over,
Yeah.
really lend themselves to tidying up. And also then you take the sprue line off. Sprue lines are minimal across the board as well. I'd have to say the mold lines are very minimal.
I think.
It's very
Yeah.
high quality.
Yeah. Obviously, we're dealing with kind of the latest in technology rather than the ABS plastics of 20 years ago. So, yeah, I think people have got down now to making those sprue lines go away. Although that said, again, a lot of people in War Machine may not have worked with that kind of plastic before. If you haven't, the getting the major bits off with clippers, then working down with a scalpel, then for the back edge of the scalpel for like minor stuff. Um, One thing I would say is don't use metal files on plastic if you can avoid it. Um,
No, only in very flat areas. Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think I grabbed a file once, and I can't remember what that was for. I'd agree with you. Yeah, even little tiny warding files, still be very careful of it because you leave a scrape mark, don't you, quite easily, a sort of jaggedy.
yeah. So what I have, and this was recommended by Ninjon, I think, if anyone's seen him, he's a painter on YouTube. Does a lot of very interesting product
Yeah, he's
comparisons
very
and
good.
tutorials. In fact, went through the new P3 range when the Kickstarter was live. So if you want to get a look at that, very good place to look at that. He put me on to bags of sanding sticks that you can get on Amazon. Very reasonably, you get like 10 of each kind, but they are all very different grit levels. And by that I mean
Ah,
it goes straight from I have one that will take off chunks if you're not careful, right down to it feels smooth against the skin, and you can be
wow.
very, very careful and do some very fine detailed work with that. They're not going to work for your metals, they will work for your resins, but on plastics, those very, very, very fine grit ones, if you need to do some nice detailed work and keep the original lines and keep as much of the detail as you want, as well as that, they are, because they are foam core, you can bend them round. So if you've got a rounded corner or an edge or a U shape you want to clean the middle of, very good for those. There's no specific brand, but you'll see these bags of sanding sticks that are in like 8 different colours, and you can just run your finger along the sanding stick and you'll feel what the grit level is.
Nice.
So little tip there.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Always handy.
Well,
Yeah.
we're the hardcore modelling podcast, so why not?
Or something.
Yes, true. Either that, or we've been around for long enough that we know all the stupid things you can do with painting and modelling to just get around having to do things properly.
That might be more of it. Absolutely.
So okay, so gone through. So yeah, it's okay. So it seems to be like a comparable. Would you say there's anything that's kind of been that's an obvious learned thing from them doing the first box set that's visible in this one, or is it kind of more
So
of God?
I know
Sorry.
from our conversation, just building on the first box, from our conversation um, looking at the sculpting and looking at how they built the sprues. Um, they have taken the edge, so they have again done this weird technique that I've never seen before, where there is no edge to the sprue. So things like the barrels of the guns point out towards the edge, and they're hollow.
Yeah,
The barrels are not all the way down, but they're hollow for good cut and mill. So all of the guns and all the hollow kind of points point out towards the edge. All those pieces that need full three-dimensional kind of depth are at the edge without an edge to the sprue. So they point if you like outwards, or they're still within the bounds of the limitations, but there is no outer edge. So it's a very, very clever design, and I did notice that um, in the previous hips box, and it's carried over into here. Um, Learning wise, I think there's because of the also because of the wings and the size of the trolls. I think that's why we haven't got bits of scenery in there as well.
yeah.
I think they are bigger models. Were there the same number of models in the first box? Did they have two solos in the first box?
No,
Or was it just one? Just one.
it's there's one fewer solo for each force in the original box.
So the solos are interesting. So with the trolls, you've obviously got a a very troll caster and a character unit that are big and chunky and a massive war beast. But then two solos. One is a pig solo who is quite a buffing range gun, but a buffing kind of solo, and a bird that's clearly around about annoying and being on sidelines. Whereas I think my understanding from the Chimera is again we've got a very big chunky caster and a big heavy war beast. and a character unit that's comparable but clearly more melee oriented. So interesting to put these against each other, which I intend to try and do later this week, providing we can get providing rules arrive, which seem to be likely. We'll see when they arrive. But then the solos, one is clearly much more combat oriented, but one is more sorcerous from just from looking at the model. Um, and I believe is a warlock attachment and is more about adding to the warlock than it is anything else. So it's interesting that the differences between the first and second, but that's not doesn't answer your question. From a modelling perspective, I think they just push the boundaries further
Yeah.
with the techniques, with the options, with the detail. From talking to Russ, there was a lot of attention to detail, a lot of revision with the trolls, and a lot of discussion with the privateer as well. I'm sure he'll come on and talk to us about that in more detail. Um, yeah, I don't think there's anything that jumps out and says yes, but just the advancements of it. There. So while there is no stupidly posed, flimsily barely attached to the ground model, like uh, in a way that lots of new advanced plastics from other companies have a tendency to look, it is impressive. They are much more stocky, sturdy, heavy because they're plastic, heavy models,
Yeah.
but they're bigger. They're bigger than their human counterparts, if we say.
Yeah. I mean, with the War Machine box set, you're dealing with Kane, who's fairly slight, the Black 13, who are very slight.
Yeah,
Um, the Warjacks are really the only chunky things in that first box, whereas the impression I get, certainly from the photos, that everything in this box is scales of magnitude, other than, like, obviously Mr. Boggs. It is Mr. Boggs, isn't it? Yeah, Mr. Boggs.
I think so.
Who's
Yeah.
who's a pig with a gun, and a very tall hat for some reason.
Yeah, he is cool. He is very cool. Yeah, he's big with like a blunderbusty looking gun.
Yeah.
Five of the models in the Chimera are on small bases, but they're still big models. They're massive. One of them doesn't look like it should go on a small base. It's huge.
Oh,
But they are.
those are
Mm,
30 mil.
yeah, they're 30 mils. The only things that are
Oh,
not 30 mil in the Chimera boxes are the caster. So if you look at the individual models, the last of the individual models before you get to, if you scroll down through the models on the website,
yeah,
the last model you see before you get to Chum, the big troll, is the caster. He's on a 40.
that makes sense.
Everything
He's
above him are on 30s except the War Beast, which is on a 50. Those
oh,
photos are deceptive. Those photos are deceptive.
that's see. Okay, the two solos I could kind of put on 30s. I mean, one of them is 30 in quote marks because that rock goes a long way off the base.
Yeah, it does.
But I wouldn't have said that unit was on 30. That's interesting.
But they're big. I mean, the wings that overhang massively,
Yeah, and
certainly on two of the models.
you've got one with the wings going basically almost straight up as well.
Yep.
So there's a lot of height there. Okay, okay. That's interesting. Yes, they're definitely kind of pushing out on what models they're willing to put into plastic.
A small thing. The bases are different.
Yes,
I know
I
they
noticed
superficially
that.
look the same. They superficially look the same. They are, but they're completely newly engineered bases.
Yes.
They don't have any indents in the bottom. They're completely flat on the not flat as in full. They're concaved in the underneath, but there is no point to poke through. There is no slot to cut. There's nothing on the inside. It's entirely flat, and yeah, new SG um, rounded bases.
So what I will
They
say,
look the same once you put paint on them, but
what I will say is, I am so immensely glad that we are moving away from those stupid slotter bases.
yeah,
That
you
that
have to fill in all the time, or cover, or do something with.
so I mean, in the past, I just glue sand. If it sinks in, it sinks in. Don't care. Um, but at least for my Mark IV stuff, I've been, green stuffing those slots. But then there'll be like one or two models that have a tab that I don't really want to cut off because it might break the resin elsewhere, and they're just such a pain to deal with. Like, just having a flat base that you glue to, and if you want to, you can drill through. Is fine. We don't need like weird guide holes and slots and all sorts of other stuff. I think
No.
we're very much past that now. If you want to do the ultimate beginner model, I think GW probably have the right idea in that they have a separate set of bases that have either a configuration of one hex hole or two.
Yes, they
The
have quite a few. Some of the single pose models
Yeah,
have bases that come, especially the start, especially the sort of edition starter boxes. They do,
yep,
don't they?
single post stuff where either they use both of the holes or they'll use one of the hole and then there'll be like a skull or a bit of tuft of grass that fits in the other one.
Or some ammunition that's fallen or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Um, if you're gonna do it, do that. But for the entire this edition, those last few, was it D and privateer bases of just no, they're fine for while metals are around, but we are past that point now. So
Especially with 3D prints with flat bases, and yeah, occasionally there's a slot piece in some of the 3D prints, wasn't there? But no.
flat prints of 3D bases, yeah, sure. I will show you Mastodon sometime and how flat that base is.
No, I was meaning there were tabs on the bottom of some of the 3D prints
Okay.
in order to fit into the slot bases. I was thinking of the some, not it's not all of them though. Some of the Dusk units, but again, it's not every model. It's some of the models
Yeah.
had them.
So you couldn't go ahead and just green stuff all the bases, or I know some people use tape, whatever. You couldn't go ahead and do that for all of them because some of them the tabs had to be in the middle. Some of them because where the base was, it had to be one way round or the other.
Or you could cut them off, but then you risk breaking it because it's 3D print. So if you cut it, it might break the wrong way.
I mean, I will say I've had remarkably good luck with modifying the resin models. I've not had any major shatters of things. I know that you certainly did at one point.
Yes,
Um,
especially
and
with early Signar and some with the Dusk I picked up. So yeah,
uh,
it's been Trolls were good though. Trolls with the later resin and the darker resin, they've been very resilient. Again, you thicker models, as you said before.
yeah,
There's more. There's less likelihood of breaking anyway.
I think for me, once I found a drill that could actually work with resin as well, pinning
So
was not a problem.
that drill that you recommended, I put in my Amazon wish list, and I got it for Christmas. Oh my God, that drill's amazing! I love it so
See,
much.
I told you.
I was a little bit skeptical, but I was like, you know what? I'll put it on my wish list, and I got it for Christmas. Oh my God, I just never using a hand drill ever again.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't work on metals. I will say that now. It's too low torque.
I haven't tried actually, but yeah,
But
thank you.
yeah, for resin and plastic, even those, if it gets to a point where problems would occur, it stops talking and requires you to
Yes,
actually remove it backwards. So the drill certainly that I use, and I think Scott as well, is the Wow Stick,
yes, it is. Yeah,
and I mean, it's an electric pen. You hold it like a pen. It's got a button on the side. You press it, and it will drill. But
we're not sponsored, I should say, but
yeah,
it's very very good.
yeah, it is. It's fairly slow. It's fairly low torque, but what it will do is you can be very fine about the pressure control because you're not having to constantly move your hand and apply uneven pressure. You can be very careful about what you're doing with it, and it leads to much more accurate and much less dangerous drilling of things. I'm
I've drilled out spears in the 3D print that I would have thought was impossible where I've dropped them and broken them,
yeah,
and fixed it and put pins in places that I would never be able to drill by hand. And I've tried drilling those sort of places by hand and failed.
yeah. Oh yeah. I The biggest thing for me was that Baronova, who's got a sword held out in one hand, and she is normal human woman size, so fairly thin. I've broken off. I think it was the wrist. and I could not get it to glue and sit there properly. So I went, you know what? Okay, fine. Get the drill out, and even on the thinnest pin that I have, there's not much either side material either side,
No,
but you could manage to get just down the middle, getting just enough pin to hold the sword there. And I've had zero problems since.
awesome.
Yeah, I will. I will do hand drill if I ever have to do metals again, which I doubt at this point, given the way that the world has gone. Um, then I will go back to those old manual drills. But for plastics, for resins, everything like that, I'm just going to use a small electric drill because it.
What did I drill out? I drilled out something large for plastic for magnets into something. I was drilling something in drilling out something to put in a magnet, something that wasn't supposed to, so it didn't have a sinkhole in it.
Yeah,
And I started it with that, with the small drill bit, then moved to the larger one, then moved to a 3 mil by hand, and then moved to a power drill, very gentle power drill, or something larger. I was sinking magnets into something recently because for the hobby, and that was the best way to start, the most accurate way to
yeah.
start by far.
Oh yeah, as doing a guide hole for something else that you do again, absolutely perfect bit of kit. Yeah,
Really lovely.
I
Yeah, thank you for the recommendation. I'll be honest, I was skeptical, and I was like, let's just put this on my wish list and see what happens.
I'm trying to think when I magnetised recently that I had to do that with. Oh, that's going to bother me now.
I can't think what it was. I was drilling in something to magnetize to put a magnet into sink it into something, and I can't think what it was. Everything comes with sink holes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's
no,
not scenery related. I can't really. Yeah.
absolutely gone. But yes, very useful for that. Okay, so probably closing up now on the new box set from SFG. Um, so just so people are aware, it is already on their website. It is War Machine, Shadows and Scum. It's available to pre-order until March the 27th. In the UK, it is priced at £80. Other regions may vary. Taxes, shipping, handling apply, yada yada, so on and so forth. Are there any other kind of like closing comments that we've kind of got on the box set?
I, Thanks again to Steamforce for sending it out to us for review and preview copy in advance again. But no, just I think it's an amazing box. It's just fantastic. I've just been nothing but impressed. It's really, really lovely.
Yeah, I think having gone through the first box set myself, I was. It feels very weird to say I was skeptical of the move to plastic when I heard that it was being done because I was getting used to having these just you buy a box, everything's mostly one piece. I can stick it down and have the entire box set done in 3/4 of an hour. Once I got that box and started assembling, it's like, oh no, this is not actually that much more work, and these are some very very nice models.
It's comparable quality to the big wargaming company. It's very. In fact, I'd say in some areas it's better. It's the highest
Well,
quality of hit plastic, and
it,
I like building models as well. It's worth saying that I even took a break for War Machine to build some Chaos Knights because I wanted to sit and build plastic things, and I had it sat. They've been sat in the garage for like a year where I'd gone, oh, this is a project, and I didn't touch it. Um, I enjoy building stuff, so
yeah,
I see it as a different part. It's not that I want to do all the time, but it's something that's quite a nice element of the hobby for me.
yeah. Oh, I do enjoy the building. It's just I don't want everything to be the massive 37,000 part build. If you get my
No,
meaning. And War
yeah,
Machine
absolutely.
was a nice break from that, but it's still proven to be very pain free modelling, and I like the way that it is. I think a beginner could pick up these kits and be fairly certain they're in good hands, as they will produce something that is nice on the tabletop.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, other than that, we've started seeing some preview materials from the Gravediggers. Now, this has already caused a couple of comments of, oh, are the Gravediggers a new thing? Are they not Signar? And it does have to explain that Gravediggers, they are a Signaran army, but they are not the Storm Legion.
No, very
So,
much not.
so what you will have access to in Gravediggers is anything that's part of the new Gravediggers range, as well as any cadres that have been released, and mercenaries that specifically say they will work for the Gravediggers. So the specific models that have come out so far, we have the first one was Captain Buck Hasker. Now, it's certainly got echoes of the old trenches. You have that sort of the trench knife, and the armour does look a little bit reminiscent, but you obviously don't have that kind of the World War One. Well, it was what was it? It was a World War One trencher with a medieval helmet almost on the original trenches, wasn't it?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. And this definitely looks like a more modern take on that. For a start, he's got a 6-shooter, which the old trenches certainly didn't have. And he looks to be someone who's been fighting on the Orgoth front, which is certainly one of the new parts of War Machine that's opened up. Yeah. So, what we've seen so far, rules-wise, and I've not had an in detail look. He has Field Marshal Prowl, which is always an interesting one. Killing Spree, and a feat of Minefield. Which is where you put 3 mine tokens anywhere completely within control range. Enemy models treat the area within 3 inches of a mine token as rough terrain. And whenever an enemy enters, is placed, or ends its activation within 3 inches of a mine, roll d6. On a 4+, they take a power 14 and are knocked down.
It's quite severe. I mean, it does make me think a little bit of Sarafel's feat before it was adjusted.
Sorry, who?
Syrafel in Dusk,
Yeah.
her feat was any model moving into her control area or getting close to her within her control area takes a power 10, not a 14.
Hmm.
And if it takes damage, was knocked down. If it didn't take damage, was pushed back. The knockdown bit got removed in the update. But it's kind of similar. It's not as broad, though, because it's around these specific locations.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to place these locations where there are objectives or things that people want to move towards. So it's kind of avoidable, but also there's definitely a skill level to this feat. I think that wasn't there with Sarafel's previous feat.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you place the tokens, you can spread them out, certainly. But if you place them as almost a wall, you're getting what? It depends on what base size, but if we said it's a 30 mil, you're getting nearly, well, 21 inches across the table of bubbles of minefield. That seems pretty nice.
It does.
Yeah. On him as well, Veil of Mists, Escort, and Cursed. I'm not seeing Cursed Fate anywhere else. Target model unit suffers -2 death when damage roll resulting from a direct hit fails to exceed the. Oh
An old
no,
quick spell.
that's it's an old pirate one as well.
Yeah. I think I've seen it before, but I can't think where recent. I don't think I've seen it anywhere in Mark
It,
4,
it,
but
it
I might be mistaken.
used to be on Fiona,
Oh, really? I played a lot of her. Okay.
but I think with a different name.
Oh, okay.
I'm fairly certain that used to be on, on the mercenary Fiona.
Fiona the Black. Yeah, I liked her a lot.
She was a very, very good caster. Although I don't think she's got any more.
No, I haven't seen it for a while. It's a familiar phrase.
Oh, she's got Curse of Shadows, which may be something that replaced it. But yeah,
Uh,
it's
that's a bit more common, that one.
yeah. I do find it very interesting now. This is a side point before we go anywhere else.
Yeah.
That in the War Machine app, it's been cleaned up, so all the armies of legend are no longer in the main list. And if you click to view them, it does actually say these are a selection of legacy models that are no longer in production but are allowed to be played in Prime. And you can choose to not go there.
Yeah.
And just like, no, I don't want to see the armies of legend, it's fine. I find that so the
Yeah,
default.
I think that's sensible. I think that's. I have heard a lot of talk lately of people wanting to yeah, returns to the legacy armies and adding casters and stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, but this is a business. Much as it's nice if you're playing the older factions, and it would be nice to have refurbs on circles so they'd be better, or But the bottom line is they're selling miniatures, aren't they? So
I think the
that's the
key thing is as well they can't make any more of those.
no.
There's no existent stock. The molds are, as far as we know, gone. Yeah,
But they had a lifespan anyway, didn't they? So yeah,
yes, yeah. Well, they may have been disappeared by other means. I believe is also something that may have happened.
there's that true. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's something not digging too far into though. But
No. I think they have a lifespan. Let's go with that. Yes.
yes. However, we are seeing things in the vein of those old armies kind of pop
Yeah,
in,
very much.
which is exactly what Gravediggers is.
Yes.
As for the model of Buck Hasker, I mean, I don't know what to say more other than it's what you'd expect of a trencher warcaster. He looks about right. So fairly sort of stocky, normal human with a 6-shooter on a chain and a big knife.
Weirdly, I think the only ones we've seen previously, I mean, you might be able to name one that I can't think of, but the nearest things we've had to trench warcasters have been the mercenary ones in many respects. And some of the mercenaries look like they had previously been trenchers, or in the fluff had previously been trenchers, or had been in Sigma Army, or
I
they've been
I'd say the major inspiration for the look, and it is a major inspiration for the look, is Kane.
yeah, true.
Because he has that reputation of working with the Gravediggers from their original incarnation
Yeah.
back in Mark
Uh,
II.
let's get that one carefully, I think. But yes. Oh, Mark two, not Mark one. Yes.
Yeah.
Mark one trenches are a very different thing.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't they have a thing where they kind of created clouds and then walked back through their own cloud wall to be?
I was meaning more fluff than rules, but yes, they did have that though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I've not read much of the Mark One fluff of the trenches, other than first in, last out. So Hasker looks to be, how can I put this? Solid warcaster, not the most visually interesting. He's fine.
So it's interesting you say that because I'm seeing lots and lots of people get very excited about the trenches online, and getting very excited about the new army and even wanting it more than they wanted Storm Legion. But I look at it and I'm left a little bit kind of like, oh, but it's interesting. You're kind of the first other person who's kind of shared that perspective, which makes us feel like we're the whatever podcast around trenches. But I've never been that excited about them.
I think I'm going to pick up the trenches because obviously I have a Sigma army, and I think there's enough good in there. I think Hasker is the key thing of like I'm not particularly interested in him. If we look at further previews, for instance, Plugger, who appears to be the character Warjack, that's something that's more interesting. This kind of busted up double chain gun, double backsword wielding thing. He's got more visual interest for me. It's a heavy warjack, with aggressive.
There's so much to him. There's so much to him. It looks like a lighter, doesn't it? So big, chunky.
I think the problem is the reason I think you're seeing him as a light is because he's very hunched down, but he's
Yeah.
got this gun on his back. He does look like a gun bore.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's the same sort of pose.
I hadn't thought of that.
I think once you see it on a 50mm base, I think that'll change
Yeah.
slightly. But yeah, you're not wrong. He doesn't look like he should be arm 19 and how many boxes? 30 boxes. Like that doesn't seem like the same thing. But yeah, he's got 2 crit decap knives, that's already pretty nasty. Extended control range, sprint, and killing spree.
I think he's quite horrible.
Yeah,
How many points is he?
he's 17 points.
That would be my guess. So that's reasonable then.
Also tried and true as well. Which, given Signar's thing of putting mechanics everywhere, like, even if it's only a couple of extra points per game, that might save him.
Yeah, the mechanics in Storm Legion are very good mechanics. I don't think the mechanics in them are going to be as good, but yeah, they're still
Oh, of
still
course, no,
handy. I agree.
because they don't have the Storm Legion mechanics, do they?
No, they don't. They don't have
Ah.
armor 17 multi wound mechanics,
Oh,
but they're going to have some kind of mechanics, aren't they?
yeah,
But
yeah.
they won't have those.
This is the thing. I think Signar. I think of the Storm Legion mechanics. Oh, that's We'll have to see what's coming for that one. Obviously, got a metal storm cannon up top with that whole D3+1 range 10 power 12 boostable. It's it's the big pig gun, but only one of them. What's more to say? Oh, and can also combo strike for a power 20 crit decap on the charge.
Wow.
I mean, it's only range 1. The Jack is only speed 5.
And we don't yet fully understand this interchanging weaponry bit with these jacks, do we? Not. I don't think.
No,
I don't feel like I fully understand something yet.
no, it's been announced that they can have. Well, I don't even know if it applies to Plugger.
Airdrop kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't know if it applies to him or just the others, but there's still kind of airdrop. So he starts off with the chain guns. You can switch out to a heavy gun or switch out to something more close range or flamers. Who knows what?
yeah. There is a picture at the end of the preview, which does have what look like
Oh, is it?
two different crates of stuff
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
next to our plastic walls that we got with the Signal set.
So rules for those are in the app. Rules for those boxes are in the app. So they have more command cards than everybody else now, and they have small
Oh,
airdrop
yeah.
and small airdrop one and small airdrop two. So they could be an ammo crate, an arcade munitions, a crate, and oh, it's crates of type. So it could be an ammunition, arcade ammunition, or they could be an ammo crate. So it can be two different things. Those two drops.
Oh, very nice.
So either grant magical weapons to models within 2 inches, or once per attack, when a friendly Gravedigger model within 2 inches of this model makes a ranged attack during its activation, it can also cause this model to suffer 1 damage point. If it does so, the attacking model's ranged attack gives either +2 range or +2 power. That's a lot of words. We get +2 power or +2 range to cause the box to take a damage. And it's got 5 wounds.
Ooh, dropping that on Plugger for a potential POW 16 with the gun.
Tasty net.
That's interesting.
There's a lot going on in there.
Yeah, I mean, you did say that they've got. Yeah, they definitely have some new command cards.
But there is a large ammo crate as well, but we haven't seen that yet, which is kind of some kind of upgrade to other units or upgrade to a jack. So upgrades the thing on their back has been the implied kind of spoiler, but we don't know what that is exactly. We haven't really seen the proper details of that yet.
Sorry, I'm just taking a look through the Gravedigger's spell list. The fact that
It's
they've
good,
got
isn't it? It's really good.
eyeless sight on a stick.
I mean, Arcane Shield because they're just they got decel on the and Rock Wall, which is obviously really good. It's been knocking around, and Gumbjorn used to have it as a trencher, warlock
Oh, lock
troll.
lock the target's going to be another horrific one. A model damaged by lock the target cannot run, charge, or make slam or trample power attacks for 1 round.
Wow, that's good.
That's Depending on what they've got by way of arc nodes, that could be horrific. Like, oh, you have a good assassination off your Jack Beast, whatever. I'll just boost a lot the target in. No,
Of your Vipex.
it's just horrible. Uh, yeah. Okay. This is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on as it comes forward. Obviously, we've also seen the Rowdies, which is their new character unit,
Yeah.
which is another 9.8 wound Signar special. With things like smoke bombs, killing spree. Oh, another character unit with repo. They love putting repo on things these days.
They do.
It is just all. I mean, I suppose it's one of the things that creates a very tactically interesting game, because if you can use repo well, you can just keep things out of danger, contesting things.
Kind of. It's that weird turn two thing, isn't it? Of kind of how far do you put it into danger because you can repo back out of it, or repo behind something, or repo into cover, or yeah. It's definitely got a lot of it's got a lot of legs, isn't it?
Or if you're using the Signar cavalry, um, the Storm Legion one, you can do the three-way split and just put one
Yes.
forwards, two back, and go. Well, there's only one that you're in range of, and you could kill it,
The
but there's
the
still these,
cats in Dusk are quite good at doing that too.
still the other two behind.
Yeah, with
Anato-
Mirage in cats.
yes. Oh, there's anatomical precision all over the place with the Rowdies as well. There's some grievous wounds, a grenade. I mean, they're an interesting unit. They're what you'd kind of expect of trenches with. Oh, and they've got Jack Marshall as well.
You sound like a man who's been sold. You weren't that keen like 10 minutes ago, but
No,
you seem like you've
I'm
been
not that
sold.
I'm not that sold on Hasker. Hasker, I don't think is particularly interesting as a model.
But
Um,
trenches in general.
I, I I used to love playing trenches with Damiano.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Damiano felt like a trencher caster.
Yeah. So Damiano with his what was it +2 def no
And
knockdown
even the other
spell.
guy, who's the other guy with the cigar?
Oh, McBain.
McBain felt like a trencher caster. I know he was very steelhead, but he felt trenchery as well.
Yeah, I think he fit in with the trenches. I don't think he necessarily took them a lot. But then again, the Mark III trenches were a very. Although you could support them, they didn't need support. Mark II, they needed a hell of a lot of support, and they still weren't very good. Mark III, where they went up to like Def 13, Arm 13, they could dig in, they got smoke. They had a whole box of tricks, and they weren't particularly expensive. And there were a lot of guns you could put somewhere that were tough. Um, they were interesting as a tactical unit there. And seeing that we're going to have trencher gun mages, which plays into what I've been playing
Yes.
recently, because obviously I've been playing a lot of Kane, um, and having those extra gun mages for his feet is going to be very interesting. So just to put this in perspective, ever since the new box sets come out, I've been playing a lot of Kane, because he is the most interesting new caster I've seen in a very long time. The fact that he can just out of nowhere pull an assassination out. I've been used to being terrorized by Nick for years with
Yeah.
Kane, so being on the other side of that and going, how far away is your caster? 19 inches.
Really?
Oh, that's interesting. And the first time I pulled off the assassination was such a perfect moment of, Eris moves up. She's been given a reroll by Eilish. She strips your focus off. Then Kane comes up and like, okay, feet. I shoot. What do you mean I don't need to reload?
Yeah.
Although, then again, Kane can also just feet and go, well, not even feet sometimes. Kane can just go with his army. See that warjack you've got coming in? It doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So what I've been running is what is it? Cane, Deuce, a heavy with both the railgun and the electrical bombard, a light with the railgun, and shield guard because Cane without shield guard is madness.
Sad times. Yep.
Yes.
Sad
Um,
boy.
what else are we running? Black 13th,
Of course.
Falk, a sharpshooter, mechanics, Storm Veins, because again, putting Storm Veins around Kane is just unfair, and 2 units of Legionnaires. So the Storm Lance Legionnaires.
Yes.
So I've got. Originally, I ran it with Big Pig, and
Yeah.
that was nice. But having 2 units of cavalry to just go down the flank and go, this objective here, this is mine.
I like 2 units of cavalry to go on the flank, called cats.
Yes, the cats for Dusk are
Dusk.
infuriating, horrific,
I know they lost
terrible.
some range. I know they lost some range, but they got a bit cheaper, and they're awesome. And they're really annoying. And even when they die, so as a brief aside, I know we're talking about trenches. I'm definitely subscribing to the I am on the pro Isladon camp. Everybody hated them. People are still mouthing off and saying they're horrible. I think they're amazing. I had one, so I paid into old school trolls last week,
Mm.
and Madrak 3 died to Isladons. Um, uh, Israfel was dead, and 2 Isladons took out Madrak.
So what loadout you got on the Eidolon then?
This is even less popular. Shield, and the cannon fist with the knockdown cannon on the shoulder, and one with flight, one with free upkeeps.
Oh, so the momentum gun
Yes.
with the force shield. Ugh.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, horrible.
Repel shield. What was the right arm?
The right arm is the force fist that is a cannon as well. So you've got two power
Okay.
40s, 2 power 13s, one range, one melee of each.
Ooh. See, that's the point where I'm like, that would be the question. I suppose. Yeah, you got that combo of the gun and the fist.
So you've got 5 cannons with Israfel as well at range 10 that have a reasonable chance of taking out heavy. Not a Cadorian heavy, but anybody else's.
Yeah, it's just that whole thing of
Or
the.
keep down to very little.
It's that whole thing of like the melee threat is top
Yeah,
of.
I like it. I was messing about. So I've been playing. I've been net decking quite a lot of Dusk when I've been getting to low
Yeah.
Dusk, and I'll freely admit that. But this was me going, wait a minute, Starfell. Quite like new Starfell. Very much Jackcaster. So she can. So what I tend to do with her, I tend to put. I'll get my list up. But I tend to stick one upkeep on Israfel and one upkeep on the free upkeep head Jack. Let me just grab the list properly. So I tend to put
Oh, arcane stasis. Okay, that's
Arcane Propulsion goes on Israfel, so he gets +2 speed, +2 defense, and
yeah.
flight. And then on the Arcane Stasis Isladon, I put Gravewind, so +2 defense and Poltergeist. So I've got, and at range, both Isladons are def 14 at range anyway. So one goes up to 16, and Israfel's up to 14. And they're quite difficult to take out. The one that isn't Israel has their armor 21. They just they seem on paper you go, yeah, that's all right, and you put it on the table and you go, I'm impressed by that every game.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of cases in War Machine where you can look at numbers and go, and then you play it and
I like it. The community hates it,
if it fits
but
your
I like
style,
it.
yeah. Hmm.
I think the only person I've heard talk about it in a positive way is Erica from Tried and True.
Hmm.
Um, but everybody else seems to be kind of going, no, that's rubbish. I'm like, I quite like it, especially with the casters that everybody's like really down on as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've only faced Dusk once or twice. don't think I've faced Sorrowfell.
Much as I'm loving new trolls and I want to play new trolls and shiny things, I'm really enjoying Dusk at the moment.
Yeah,
Like more than I, yeah, it has been my favorite War Machine experience now, and then just totally different. Not what I expected it to be. Really
yeah,
enjoy it, and I'm not generally a glass cannon fan, but there's some staying power in places. The cat, I often send the cats in and they die, and you go, that's fine. I've got this hard center of warjacks that are not going to die easily. You can focus them down, but it's going to take you a lot of effort.
yeah,
Meanwhile, I will kill a heavy or something substantial every turn while you're working it out.
yeah. That doesn't sound fun.
No, I like it. I like
Fun,
it a lot.
fun to
Took
face
out
anyway.
Mountain King, and Mountain King died my second turn because he moved up the table because he kind of had to take presence, and combined fire and Israel just went in, took it out, left him on two focus, which meant two focus on Israel means Israel was very difficult to die because he's like a caster with focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that's all right. That's my aside into digression into my joys of Dusk, which is obviously not popular these days, but fun.
Well, I mean, they did get hit a little bit with the Nerf hammer at the annual refresh, which, having played against them, kind of fair. I know a lot of people said the Cats has been turned into an entirely different unit at this point.
I think in ranges is less, but they're not. They just basically took the edge off the range advantage that Dusk had
Yeah,
because the combination of things meant that they could go a very long way. Tyrus could still send them a very long way.
yeah.
But anyway,
And
yes, that's fine.
it's not like the Cats aren't still armed 17 with spring blades. Um,
Rates are so great against single wound infantry.
oh, sorry, armed 17 spring blades and vampiric. Just because why not?
Oh, I forget that. I forget so many rules as well with Dusk. Vampiric. So when they kill stuff, they heal and they. Oh my god. Okay. I need to remember that rule. That's another rule I keep forgetting.
Is this one you need to write on your forearm every game?
So the last one was that I played into Storm Legion and left my Dreadguard archers in the case. I completely forgot to get them out to put them on the table, and it was still a close game. I lost on points, but we played on a bit, and then he was like, "Oh, you're just going to table me now." And he was like, "I said, yeah, but you won on points. That's fine." Um, but Vampiric. Oh yeah, G3 damage. With a model of the rate, destroys a living or undead model with a melee or ranged attack.
So,
It's just they just suffer D3 damage because I'm not sure Spring Race triggers Vampiric.
oh
But
no,
anyway,
I wasn't
that's
talking
right.
about them comboing together. I was more talking about the fact
Oh
that
no, I thought that's what you meant. I was like, that's an amazing idea. No, I don't think that
no,
combos. But yeah,
no,
no,
no, no,
but
no.
yeah, the Vampiric
It's
stuff.
more that the model has both.
Yeah,
It can do an additional D3 if someone fails to kill it, and then the next turn, well, if that model's not dead, it can just clean up and get a few extra points back.
that's very nice. Yeah,
Yes. No, that's the no, no.
I
So
I like. Been enjoying Dusk. Yes.
yeah.
Anyway, yes.
No, I mean I've been enjoying my time with the new Cadre for Signar. That's been my thing of late, and I'll probably I need to get around to put some paint on those, but I'll talk more about that in the painting section as to why I've not put
Yes.
paint on my Signar yet. Um, that being said, I think we are now at the point where we can move to the painting table because I would say we've exhausted all the news. There's probably more. It's been several months since we've broadcast. We're post Christmas. We're getting back into it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're not talking about the quick stuff that happened. The quicks happened.
Yes.
Move on.
So, Kurt, what's been on your painting table?
Well, right now, the Shadow and Scum box that we so kindly sent. I'm painting trolls at the minute. What has been on my painting table? A lot of Dusk. I've been painting a lot of Dusk, and a lot of that's been on my Instagram and things as well. Painting Dusk and painting Dusk.
Yes,
I've been enjoying that a great deal.
have been looking at your Dusk. It looks like that's been going very well so far.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the sort of desert feel and the and yellow armor throughout, or sort of bony yellow armor throughout. I'm quite enjoying that. Wanted to try and keep it bright rather than go dark and metallic and moody, which is I know is my thing, but I thought bright undead dark elves. I don't know what it is about the elves. I was never like Iosian elves before. I liked them, but something about dusk and the fluff and the story. I've even gone and got one of the older army books for Retribution and really engaging with that force in general now.
Mm.
But painting table is I'm going to paint up the two-player starter and hopefully get some games in against local player and get some pictures of it as well.
Cool,
Get some
cool.
more posts up on social media, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm just kind of scrolling through some of your stuff now. It's how can I put it? It's nicely done, but with it's very much not a scheme I'd expect from you.
Okay.
I think because I've gotten too used to yours, like how you've done your trolls, and they stand out. They scream at you from across the table. These are much more. They're fitting. They've got that kind of deserty ochre kind of thing going on. So
Yeah.
you kind of got the ochre and grey, but then you got that kind of like that little dash of turquoise. Well, turquoise teal
Yeah.
that kind of stands out a bit. Yeah, no, it's a nice subtle scheme.
I like it. I'm happy with it. I'm kind of yeah. It's going quite pale, but with that kind of and I've got so the armor is all yellowy, sort of pale yellow, and then I've gone for instead of the teal, but there's a hint of purple in there. And when you shift over to more moraine and the ghosts, the purple's got more of a stronger presence with the teal and the yellow, of course, because they've got less armor. The yellow is it becomes the third color almost, but
Yeah,
just because of I'm painting the different objects the same colors, but there's less armor. I quite like the way that swung, and that really tied in for me. And going, oh no, I like that. That's different. It's a sub army, but it's actually the same scheme. It just looks a bit different.
yeah,
I've enjoyed that.
oh, it's good. It's good to
Yeah.
see
How about
enjoying
you,
them.
Mike? What's on your painting table?
Well, what's been on my painting table for the last several weeks has been Space Marines. Um, I,
Basically, I've
I
seen those stuff. Yeah.
I have been churning through Ultramarines. Sadly, I've had something of an eye injury, so it's been a bit of a headache at points. Because when you've got one eye that's in focus and one eye that's out of focus, trying to do fine detail
Oh,
stuff, that really does just warp your head a little. Um, but mostly, yeah. I mean, I've done a five-man squad of Infernus Marines. I was originally going to do them with the second edition Ultramarine Flamer colours, but then I looked at those in the codex and went, I really don't like that yellow, because the main body of the Flamer is yellow with red detailing,
okay.
and no, I just didn't like it. So I decided to go with for anyone who's not seen my Ultramarines, I'm trying to go very kind of second edition with them. They're a much lighter blue than modern Ultramarines. There's no gold on them. It's all bright yellow where I can get it. And in fact, I've actually changed how I paint so that the yellow and the blue are brighter on the actual models. Um, so previously, and for some people, this is going to be, well, this is how you should paint anyway. But for me, this is different because I was not raised with the current Citadel. Well, no, the previous Citadel method, because the new one is contrast paints. But previously, what I would do is I would paint at the model and I would get a wash and go meh, and just cover the thing in wash and leave it at that. What I'm now doing is blocking in the colours where I can, not doing any highlighting whatsoever at that point, unless it's important that something's two tone. Giving it the wash, and then going back over with the brighter colours,
Cool.
which I realise is the Citadel method of old.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Very much.
so, for instance, for the not edge highlighting, for the trim on the shoulder pads, I'm doing Tooth and Coat's Dark Sun Yellow, then going over with Army Painter Dark Tone, then coming back in with Vallejo moon yellow, which is the closest I can get to the old Citadel bad moon yellow.
Bad moon. Yeah.
And going over with that for like nice bright edges. And okay, I'm not the cleanest painter in the world, but it does look clean on tabletop distance. You can see where those shoulder pads are, and that's kind of what I wanted.
I'm not a clean painter. Some of my finished products look tidier than any of the. I never like putting progress pictures because I'm really not a clean painter. I'm very messy and I clean up and tidy up as I go. So yeah, War Machine has not been good for my painting technique because the idea of going not grimdark but dirty steampunk
Yeah.
has not helped me try and be clean. But painting's about fun. I always think painting's more about fun and enjoying
Yes.
the process than it is actually going, oh no, that's not quite perfect. I think I let go of perfection on painting. I think when I tried to aim for it and the criticism and feedback I got really put me off the whole concept. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to paint what I feel like and enjoy what I feel like.
Simply put, perfect is the enemy of done.
Yes. And joy.
Um, I mean, there were points. I started painting with Chaplin. I hate painting black. And I just got to a certain point with that. I love the Chaplin models. I
Don't
dearly
paint it
do.
black. Paint it where you like. Paint, give him a black helmet and nothing else or
Well,
something like that. You can
p-
just
part
supposed to
of
cheat that.
part of what I like about them is the black, though. That's the
Oh,
thing.
okay.
I love the way the models look and the way that the lore is about them. And
Yeah.
like, I would happily have, much like if I was playing Imperial Guard, I would have commissars every 50 units. Just like I would have chaplains all over the place, given enough points.
I'm
And
sure there's a chapter that does that.
we're not going there. Uh,
That's even more black, actually, thinking about it, isn't it? Yes,
yeah.
sorry. Yes, it's more
Um,
black.
but like, I just got to a point where it's like, I've got a good bony face, good bony rib cage. I've got that ultramarine shoulder pad on there. I'm just going to put a little bit of grey outlining the cloak and the armour, and a little bit dot of not quite white, but just like as close to a whiter grey as you can get. And a couple of dots of that to do some spot highlights that kind of look okayish. And I'm calling that done. Because
Cool.
if I paint any more, I will just hate this model. And yeah, I've got a chaplain that works. But I realise I digressed several points ago. The whole thing was that I have bolters that are the traditional ultramarine metal bits on the end and bright red for the casing because
Yes.
I always love that look. So that's pretty much what I did for the Infernus Marines Flamers. They have a silver, well, gunmetal backstock and trigger, a red casing, and then where the heat guard is, that's Rune Lord brass, which is sort of tin bits for the 21st century.
Okay.
Um, the fact that tin bits is still a relevant reference after how many years of it being out of production, yeah, tinny tin if you use Vallejo, very good colour. So yeah, done the Infernus Marines. I've done words. Where have they gone? Oh no. Assault Intercessors.
Yeah, I was going to say some instances, so yeah.
Yeah. I've done a librarian and a chaplain. I kind of messed up the power weapon on the librarian, but I got to a point where it's like, again, I don't care enough. It's going to look okay on the tabletop from 4 feet away. I'm just going to leave it.
When you were scrolling through my Instagram pictures just now, to how far back did you scroll? Did you stop when
I,
you got
I
like October?
I did see some Dark Angels in there.
I painted a lot of Dark Angels. So October, I was like, I want something fun, easy to paint. I'm hacked off with Chimera. It's pissing me off. It's too hard. My scheme is too hard. I want something easy. So I painted a ridiculous number of really easy, quartered, but still really easy Dark Angels. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Oh, I can tell.
Good therapy.
Mm. I think
They're not high detail. They're just fun, and I enjoyed it.
the one thing I got to with the Marines, when I looked at them initially, I believe there's a comment I'm on record with before, is saying, "Oh, they're too fiddly. There's too much detail. I can't be bothered." And this batch of Marines, I just kind of went, okay, what detail's the most important?
Yeah.
Leather pouches, bolters. I want the eyepieces to be red after some research. I originally thought Ultramarines were green. Don't know why. That turns out that's Blood Angels. Um,
Oh yes.
and the gold trim on the pieces that need it, with occasional little bits on the shoulder pad or the knee pad to say this is something different. Oh, and purity seals, because obviously purity seals are everywhere. And that's pretty much all I did. Like my marine armour and the piping and almost everything like that is just this two-tone blue that I've done with the airbrush. So I spray marine blue from the bottom and Elysian blue from the top, so it looks like I've got shadows. Add a bit of wash to that, and like, oh, and it just looks like a marine.
Yeah.
It's really weird how much it comes together by just doing the few bits of detail and leaving it at that. So I managed to knock out on 2 nights 5 Marines a night, which for me,
Nice.
I mean, for other people, that's probably like, oh, I can do that in an hour. Like that is not the speed that I paint. I do not paint fast.
I can paint at the speed of detail that I want. So the Space Marines I painted at a shocking rate, but generally speaking, I paint. I think I paint fast for the detail level, but I still depends what I'm painting.
Yeah,
Very much depends what I'm trying to achieve and what level I want. I no longer. I'm not going to spend a month on one model ever again. I don't think, but it has happened.
yeah. So I think coming up, I've very much got the Welsh Masters and also a
If it happens, when it happens.
a 40k Highlander tournament on my radar. Um, I I want to start painting up Kane and his troop, which I will do. I've got a scheme in mind. It's going to be an extension of the purple that's on my other Signar, and it's going to be pretty much all purple for coats and leathers and what's have you. We'll see where that goes. And then, I do want to get some of my marine vehicles painted, particularly the Dreadnought, because as most people know who follow me for a while, I love Dreadnoughts. It's the reason why I love the Warjacks and War Machine.
I'm never doing that. I'm a big fan of of dreadnoughts and warjacks together as a thing. I painted 2 plasma redemptors. My Dark Angels, and I've got 2. I always liked twin las cannon and rocket launcher dreadnoughts. Even old school was one of my Thousand Suns as well. So I've got 2 of those as well because they came in the army box. So I've got 2 of those that they're not done. They need to do it at some point, but I'll get back to them at some point. I'm now massive. I've got the largest Space Marine painted army I've ever had, I think.
Of finished painted models, I think I'm there. I think.
But do I play 40k? No.
See, I very rarely play it outside of events, and I go to like 5 or 6 events a year and get 4 games in. But it's very much like a chilled 40s and 50s wargaming dads event. Everyone's in a scout hut. We have communal meals. We have a good chat. The games are 3.5 hours long. You play 4 games over the weekend. You say, right, see you in 2-3 months. And everyone goes home again. It's a lovely old time. And
Pipe and slippers.
Very much so. Very much so. It's
That reminds me of the veterans event we were mooting once at some probably the Welsh Masters a very long time ago. Of we need a nap in the middle of this, and we need a pipe and sofa time, and yes, sounds familiar.
Yeah, that was that one smog con where you just kind of broke down in an evening and played Botswana and
oh my god, the World Championship Botswana, I believe it was. Yes.
I
don't ask me how to play that game anymore. I still can't remember.
Oh, Botswana's easy.
I can't remember how you play it, but I have played it.
All you do this is going very much off track. All you do every turn is you take a card from your hand, you add it to the middle, and it goes on one of 6 animals. I think it's either 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And replacing any other value that's there.
Yes.
And you pick one animal from the middle. And when any one animal has the full 0 to 5 of its cards in the middle. The round is over, and each animal is worth the number of
Valued at the
points.
card that's on the top at that point.
Yep,
Yeah.
which could be 5, could be 0, could be 1. Who knows? And it's this horrible stock market style push your luck kind of thing. It's like, okay, well, I think I'm going to be able to get lions to be worth 4, but if I take too many lions, then other people will cotton on and
And
they'll
Nick's
get
going to have a
points on it.
card that's got a 1 on it and he's going to play it late. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a fun. I mean, it's a Reiner Knizia game, and he's very good at doing those kind of interesting bidding mechanics. If you're ever
Actually, you were probably picturing Nick Tockham. I was picturing Nick Roberts, but
I was actually picturing Nick Roberts there.
Nick Roberts is definitely the person that you should be picturing there.
Yeah,
Whether he listens to this anymore or not.
if you, because you can't really get Botswana anymore, if you're interested in something that you could play with your kids as a board game, Modern Art by Reiner Knizia is very much in the same vein. I mean, obviously, the guy's designed thousands of games. He's a former professional sort of high-up banking guy who retired just to make interesting board games, and a lot of them are around bidding. And Modern Art,
I don't think I knew that.
yeah, Modern Art is very much in the vein of, like, every turn you're presenting a piece of art to be bid on, but each one has its own interesting auction mechanic. So one might be the auctioneer sets a price and you go around the table seeing who's the first person who wants it. Or there might be one that's is a traditional auction style where people can bid as much as they want and keep going until no one wants to get in anymore. Or there might be a closed auction where you all just put money in your hand and reveal it at the same time. And best of all, if you buy the Cool Mini or Not version, it comes with a tiny hammer. So when something's sold, you can bang the table.
So
It's such a stupid and wonderful little game. Yeah, a lot of stuff by Reiner Knizia, very good. But if you want something in that same push your luck style thing,
was that Modern Art?
yes,
Okay, I shall have a look at that.
yeah. There's also Ra, which I haven't played of his, but I've heard is also a very good bidding game. But yeah, if we are in the same place at any point, I do always, and this is a genuine thing, I do always have a copy of Botswana in the car.
Okay.
Genuinely.
Well, let's see what happens with the. Let's see what happens with the. I can't make the Midlands event at the end of March, but let's see what happens with the Welsh, because the Welsh Masters. I did when it was announced it wasn't happening. I did reach out to Jamie Perkins and mentioned, and he was like, "No, we are already considering it." And then he made an announcement, and then they sort of realised the date clashed horribly with some rugby or some football or something, and then now they're still talking about dates again, aren't they? But hopefully it will still happen.
I mean, for reference to people listening, the average cost of accommodation for the Welsh Masters for 2 nights is usually on the order of, I don't know, between £80 and £100. Would you say? For a
Depends where you want to stay. I paid the low end and I paid the high end when I was feeling flush.
For a Premier Inn room at one of the city's fine Premier Inn establishments.
Yes.
Or the Zip if you're really feeling adventurous. Been there, I will. Yeah. It's not that the hotel's bad. It's just I nearly died from sleeping on a thin mattress for 2 nights. I am not 21 anymore. That my back will not survive that.
None of us are.
Yeah. But anyway, between 80 and...
What was that, mate? Wait, I'm sorry, what was that supposed to mean? Moving on.
Yes.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I'm rapidly deciding, having got to talking to more content creators in this fine game of War Machine, that I'm starting to feel like I might be the oldest person still playing this game.
Ooh,
I haven't met somebody older than me playing this game for quite some time now.
In fairness, we are the old heads of War Machine. Yeah, podcast.
Yeah, but that makes me the Conrad. I'm not comfortable with that.
Oh no!
Oh
no.
yes, it does.
We'll have to find you We'll have to find you a strange wig to wear at events now. Moving on from that one in particular. But yes, Welsh Masters
Yeah, yeah.
prices usually between 80 and £120.
Yes.
The price I was quoted for the Premier Inn, not a Premier Inn in town, no, 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 the large one on the A road as you come in towards the
Oh
docks.
yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
The
Yep.
price I was
I've stayed
quoted
there.
for
I've stayed there. I think with you. Yep. Yep.
2 nights, I was quoted £560.
Ouch. No. Jesus.
That's the point at
Okay.
which I'm like, am I renting the hotel or
Yeah.
what?
Just one room for one person, please.
Yeah,
Not the whole convention.
yeah. One room, one person. Yeah. I will say, just going back, the Zip, I think it's Zip by Premier Inn. You will see it advertised on Premier Inn if you do go to Cardiff. It is an interesting and, quote, innovative hotel. It is perfectly good if you want somewhere to put a bag down and lie down for one night. There's no... The rooms have windows, about a third of them, but every room has the window frosted because the other 2/3 don't have windows and just have a light panel where the window would
Wow.
be.
Okay.
The the beds are effectively boards that are on rails with a mattress on top, so it can be split apart to be a single on either side or a double to one side or the other.
Yeah.
There is no kettle in the room, but there are tea and coffee facilities to buy tea and coffee downstairs. And it is cheap. There is a Greggs across the road to get breakfast at, because it's a £5 for breakfast in the hotel, or a £5 for a much bigger breakfast at Greggs. It's not the worst place in the world. If you're staying for one night, fine. More than one night, I would suggest a proper hotel with a window and a kettle and a bed. So
But you're better.
impromptu hotel reviews. Who knew?
Indeed.
I've just realised the time, and I've been waffling on for quite a while.
We've done painting table. Did you have any other business? I seem to remember you had something, and I can't
Yes.
remember what it was.
Okay. Any other business? I'll go through this very quickly. I have been listening to an audiobook
Oh yes.
by a woman called Jiren J. Zhao, called Iron Widow. It is it is it is slated as a young adult book,
Okay.
but it is very interesting in that it is sort of a science fiction meets Imperial China novel. So what you have
Okay.
is you have an Imperial China style society set after the fall of mankind. There's this alien race that has taken over vast amounts of the earth. There's a new Great Wall of China that is defending China from these oncoming things that have large mechs. Well, they may be the creatures themselves, they may be mechs, it's not quite clear. But one of the things that's happened is that when these creatures are killed, they can actually be repurposed by this nation and have pilots put into them as mecha to face the oncoming aliens.
So whether they're mecha or not mecha, they get turned into mecha.
Yes, exactly. And it's
But
dealing...
on the I found it on Audible. Pacific Rim meets Handmaid's Tale in this blend of Chinese history and mecha science fiction.
Yes. It's the whole book starts with a girl who's just lost her sister in one of these battles, because what happens is each one of these mecha has a male and female pilot. And
Oh, hence Pacific Rim thing. Okay.
yes, but the problem is that the whole system is based off chi energy, and
Okay.
the
Yeah.
whole statement is that because the men have such high chi powers, it ends up a lot of the time killing the women involved, and the main character's sister has just been killed in one of these instances, and she determines that she is going to join the army, be paired with the same pilot, and before they can get into battle, she is going to kill him. she knows that this will not just result in her being killed, but her entire family for 3 generations being killed as well.
What?
But she
Okay.
hates her family.
Oh,
The only one she liked was her sister, and she said she's gonna do this. No one else knows that this plan, but she is gonna do this. And after that, it is a tale that is related to the story of how China got its one female empress.
wow. Okay.
And I've listened to. I'm most of the way through it at the moment. It goes in places that you very much would not expect, and it is very well done. It's got a good sense of humour, including one point where someone is being told how genuinely evil this other person is. You know, they're in their presence and they go, "This is a man so twisted, he broke the glasses we gave him so he could have a shard of glass to stab his guard in the neck," and just looks at the person they're meant to relate his tale to and goes, No, don't laugh. You're not meant to be encouraging him. This is a bad thing. It's got a very nice subtle sense of humour, but it is, yeah. Handmaid's Tale meets Pacific Rim is a very good way of saying it, but not as po-faced as either. It's certainly got that there. It's certainly got a lot of that whole dealing with oppression, but the big mecha action as well. And yeah, it's written very, very nicely. So I would personally recommend it. It is available on Audible, where I've been listening to it. Also available in paperback, and there is a sequel out as well.
I think is there more than one? What's that? There's something else as well that looks Heavenly Tyrant appears to be connected, or looks
Yeah,
connected by the artwork, unless it's just another one by the same author.
Heavenly Tyrant is the new one that's just come out.
So there's another
There's another one.
Iron Widow.
I think the other one is like a side story. It's not quite a direct
Oh, okay.
sequel. I don't know yet. I've not finished the book, so. But yeah, I found it through the author's TikTok. Weirdly, just
Oh, well, okay.
scrolling through TikTok, and she is just this weird being, and is okay for a Chinese author. Was also banned from the Hugo Awards in China. I was like, oh, okay. There's got to be a reasoning behind that. Oh, it's because
Yes.
she picks at China's flaws. Oh dear. This is. I could see why that's happened. If you look at her author photos as well, she allowed the internet to choose her author photo for her second book, which is therefore her in a T-Rex costume screaming at her cat.
Okay.
Beautiful stuff.
Would not expect you to say that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, any book recommendations off you at the moment before we go?
I've been re-listening to Dresden. I've been really enjoying Dresden Files again.
Yes.
Which is obviously we've talked about before. Just wanted something kind of that was familiar and enjoying. We listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of our fellow War Machine podcasts, a lot of a variety of podcasts. But no, having no new novels. I did start. Charlie Milble wrote a book with Keanu Reeves, and I did start that, and I need to go back to that at some point.
I'm just going to go back to something you said there. So, because we are in the modern era, a new edition, we're in the space future of 2025 now. What War Machine podcasts are you kind of you favourite at the moment? If you had to pick like one or two.
Okay, so Minority Report would be probably the first. I really enjoy. They are as regular as us. Unfortunately, they're probably a bit more regular than us. I like Minority Report. They're really good. I've discovered the Atlanteans. I quite like them.
Oh, okay.
That's a fairly new discovery.
New podcast or just new discovery?
New discovery.
Okay.
Because they a bit like us. When you search for War Machine on podcast apps, we don't come up, and nor do they. I found them from discovering them through social media and then finding them that way. Six is the Weird I've been quite good at this. Actually, Tyrants in the Field. There you go. Tyrants in the Field I quite like. Tyrants in the Field can be quite long, and it's just him talking and usually reviewing stats and event kind of event results. But that can be kind of interesting at times if you're in the mood for it. I think when I'm in the mood for it, I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, you definitely have to be in the mood for something like that.
And hard not to recommend Tried and True, but again, they do videos and podcasts, and the podcasts aren't that frequent because they do YouTube and things as well. They do
Yeah.
a lot of different stuff, but
Uh,
they're very good. They're very, very good.
Tried and True is something I'm definitely aware of from YouTube. Seen a couple of their battle reports in the past, I think.
Yeah,
Seem to be good stuff. So, okay, yeah, it gives me something to listen to. So, yeah.
there's loads. There are. Yeah, I'm gonna be cheeky now. Throw another one in. I have really, really enjoyed Shop Talk with Mario, and in fact, what led me to being um, invited to the content creators group was talking to Mario. So I've been chatting to Mario. Was chatting to him a bit last year, um, just through Facebook, and then he started season two. He said he was done, wasn't good anymore. Then he came back and did season two, and I was like, I'm so glad you came back and did more because the conversations are really good. Shop Talk, they're really good. You go back into last year, people just talking about their games and their interest in the hobby. He goes back right back to people. It's almost a bit biographical as well. But so Corey Dole was on talking about the state of the game in one of the new ones, which is really he's always worth listening to. Always got interesting opinions and insights.
Cool. Cool.
Far too many. You said one or two, and I gave you like six.
Hey, if it's something you're interested in, it's something worth listening to. So, okay. I think we're now at the point where we can sign off. So, you've been listening to Elite Cadre, the War Machine podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously. I've been Mike.
And I've been Kurt.
There's no Nick.
And that's it. There's no one else here today, is there? There's no one else here. Say
Yeah.
goodbye, Nick. He's not here.
Yeah. There we go. That's a podcast.
Yay.
Right. It is past 11. This has gone longer than I thought.
If you are interested in when you stop recording, have you stopped recording?